Welcome to season 2 of Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentasana. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers who share their raw, real stories of perseverance, resilience, and building a life and business with impact. We talk about everything from entrepreneurship and family to purpose and living fully. My goal is to inspire you to start that dream, push through the hard seasons, and wake up every single day ready to live the life you were born to live with passion and purpose. Welcome back, everyone, to Where Passion Meets Purpose. I have another amazing guest on the show today. Jessica Papineau is here, and I have known Jessica now maybe for about a year and a half. She is an incredible human being, but what she does for women in personal styling is absolutely amazing. Jessica has a business called CSJ Styling, and it's a leading personal styling company dedicated to empowering female entrepreneurs on a mission to change the world. I mean, who doesn't love that? She has 25 years in the fashion business, and she is a recognized thought leader in personal styling. She's been featured on ABC News, She Means Business magazine, the July 2025 cover, to be actual. She is a voice of changes, a top 40 speakers, spotlighted in top podcasts, and listed among MSN's top self-made businesswomen to follow in 2025. And she is in top entrepreneurial publications such as LA Wire, Women's Journal, She Means Business, and New York Weekly. Jessica, you are so amazing. I mean, all of those accolades don't even begin to describe you as a human being. And I just couldn't wait to have you on the show to tell your story, what you've been through, and how you got to where you are today. Because truly, when I first heard your story on that Align stage last year or in 2024, I think it was, or maybe it was 2025, your authenticity and your raw, vulnerability came through and was so powerful that I was literally eating the words that you were sharing about your story and how you have stepped into your passion and purpose. And that's what this show is all about. So I can't wait for our listeners to hear you. And thank you so much for being here.
Jen, thank you so much for having me. And I know we had a really good talk prior to getting on the podcast here. And, I feel so honored to just know you, be a part of your world. And I know, we have busy lives and all the things, but it's just really beautiful to see another woman living out her life's purpose and creating that impact in the world. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, same. And when, you get yourself around amazing women, we all step into that version of ourselves. So thank you for doing that for others as well. So I would love it, if you don't mind, if you could take us back to your story, because I know so many women are just going to be so inspired by how you got started and the why behind what you do.
I definitely have a unique story, and I do really love to tell my story, because I think sometimes, people look on the outside and they kind of look at my social media, or they see, oh yeah, she was an LA Wire or on the cover of She Means, but all these things. And I'm very proud of myself for being able to achieve that. But that is not where I came from. It wasn't, my family and my upbringing didn't lend itself to be in fashion styling. And I think this is where, and I really like to talk about this, because I think that every woman needs to know that she is born with a purpose. She is born with it. It's in her. And, it's just a matter of choice of whether or not we decide that we're going to, have the faith in ourselves and the trust in ourselves and lean into it and go for it. Because when you do, it is a wild ride, and it's fun, it's joyful, it's hard, it's all the things. And I'm so grateful that I get to live my life's purpose. And it could have gone very differently. So I grew up in the backwoods of Maine, no electricity, no running water. We had an outhouse. We had one wood burning stove to heat the whole house in the winter. Our food source was from the garden that we harvested fruits and vegetables in the fall, and that was our food source for the winter. growing up, obviously no TV, no television. So my entertainment was a couple different things. One, and I was an only child until I was 11. So one of the things that I did is I listened to children's stories on the radio, at a very young age before I could like read or anything. And so as a child, I had a very active imagination. I remember sitting and listening to these stories and closing my eyes and seeing almost like a TV screen in front of me, seeing everything kind of unfold in front of me. So this imagination I also took into my closet. I had a love of fashion and beauty for as long as I can remember, as early as, 3 and 4 years old. I remember spending days in my closet. Like I didn't want to go outside and play in the garden and do all the things my parents were doing. I would spend time in my closet and I would take the articles of clothing in there. And mind you, these are from Salvation Army. These are not like designer clothes. Like my mom didn't take me to the mall. We didn't even have a mall close by. They're closed, Salvation Army. And I created out of those pieces. And I also would go into my mom's closet too and grab her scarves and all these different things. And I would create outfits and I would put on the outfits and I would look in the mirror and I would imagine and I would see things. I know it sounds wild and crazy, but I did. I had this active imagination and I would see myself at parties and having fun and with other women, we're girls and we're dancing and all these different things. And I really imagined myself anywhere but where I was. And from a very young age, we don't know what we don't know. Like I wasn't from the big city. I wasn't, living that kind of life, but I was imagining it. And I never felt like I belonged where I was. And I think many of us women, I mean, obviously my story is a little bit extreme in that we didn't have any of the amenities. But, I think oftentimes many of us feel this way growing up that we're just, maybe a little bit different. And I know the woman that listens to your podcast is that woman. She has that special, that uniqueness in her. And she's like, I just want it to come out. I just want to share it. And so I would spend all this time in there. And I remember the very first time that I experienced what shame was.
Hmm.
And there was a day my parents came in my room and they had been warning me not to go in my closet all day. They wanted me to go outside, not worry about the frivolous things in life, like clothes didn't matter, beauty wasn't important. And my dad had a padlock. And he went to take that padlock and put it on my closet door. And I remember that moment like it just happened. I mean, I threw myself on the ground. I cried, no, Daddy, no. And he didn't end up putting the lock on that door. But I will say, I felt as though there was like this metaphorical, lock put on my heart of like, this is not meant, you're not, this is superficial. Fashion and beauty, that doesn't matter. What are you doing? And so as I got older, and I was a little bit more, I would say sneaky about my time in the mirror, because I love my time in the mirror. And then, there was a lot of abuse actually at that time, in the family, and my parents, divorced. My dad moved to Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And I ended up having an opportunity at 16 years old to leave the backwoods of Maine and go and live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, it was my dream to work in retail, to work with women, to dress them, to style them. I had only ever done that for myself. And I had worked, from the time I was like 8 years old. My parents had me working, but it was like picking strawberries in the summer. And I used to paint houses for my stepdad and different type of work. Definitely not anything to do with fashion. And so I went to Canada, to Winnipeg, Manitoba, and my dad, he lived there with his mom at that point. And the very first thing I did was I put on my nylons and my black skirt suit and pumps. and typed on a typewriter, old typewriter, a resume that was void of any experience in retail and went to the mall. I took 2 buses to get there, and I had never been on a city bus before. And I didn't even know how to use the thing to get off the bus, to pull the cord for it to ding. I was like, I'm on the bus. How do I get off the bus? And I saw somebody doing it. I'm like, okay. So I get off the bus and like my whole world is ahead of me. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. And walked throughout that mall and had the door shut in my face. Every store I went into, like, you have no experience, girl. What are you doing here? Until the last store I walked into, it was like on the 2nd floor in this little corner shop, and it was women's suiting, and it was 1993. You know, women are in the workforce, like inserting themselves into this masculine, male dominated world, and they're wearing power suits, and so I'm walking in, and the manager hired me. Wow. She said, you have no experience, but I'm going to take a chance on you, girl, because I have never seen someone so excited. And literally, like, I had blisters on my feet. I'm like sweating because I had walked the whole mall. And I thought, okay, now is my chance. Now I'm going to be included in something. People are going to see me. And how many of us as women, we just want someone to see us, and accept us for who we are. And I remember that feeling and going in on the very first day. And unbeknownst to me, I had been hired at a woman's plus size clothing store. Wow. And here I am, this 16-year-old skinny, scrawny kid. Only experience dressing women was dressing myself. And I had no self-awareness to know that the women coming in wouldn't want this girl helping them. How possibly could this scrawny kid help a plus size woman dress? Right. And so I'm standing up at the front with all my excitement, and every woman is putting their hand up. Like, I don't want your help. Mm-mm. And I know I'm telling a very long story here. And I hope
this was so good, because I know that women that are listening right now are listening, and they're visualizing you in this world, right? And it's so powerful. So keep going.
So day to day, this was day in, day out, women coming in and not wanting my help. And in my mind, I always use my imagination. In my mind, I addressed every woman that walked in that door. I saw the clothes and I saw what would work on them. And I was so frustrated, number one, because I wasn't being accepted. And that was very hurtful to me, very hurtful. And, but I also was watching these women going in a fitting room, gathering all these articles of clothing, coming out of the fitting room. And I would notice, like, when they walked into the store, they intimidated me, especially when they'd put their hand up and say, I didn't want your help. However, when I would peer in and watch them look in the mirror, I would watch their eyes go to the areas of their body that they were clearly shameful of. And I would watch them focus in on those areas. And when they did that, I would watch them take big sweaters and jackets and things and put it over everything they had on, like they were covering their body in shame. And I watched it and I knew the feeling, because I had felt shame many times in my life. And I remember just this knowing that I could help them. And I was very determined, and I still am I was
going to say, I have to stop you there for 1 second, because I do have a question about this. What is standing out to me is how driven you are within your purpose, that there is nothing that is stopping you. Like, I'm thinking way back to when your dad put that padlock on and that clothing was frivolous. A lot of people, a lot of kids and a lot of young girls would take that on as a limiting belief and start to re-identify their beliefs because it's not getting them the recognition to be seen, whatever. And so they would mold themselves into, this is a lot about what my keynote is about. So I'm asking this question because identity is such a big piece of our confidence. And you were able to hold on to that part of yourself, that purpose, that passion. What was that? What was the thing inside of you that allowed you to stay so true to who you are, to never allow the outside world who was giving you the messages that you didn't belong there, or this wasn't the right thing, or this isn't your path, but you stayed on the course? What was that?
Oh, that is a loaded question. I'm
Sorry.
No, I'm so happy you asked the question, because I've thought a lot about this. And, even more recently in my life, I've thought about this. And I think sometimes there comes a point in our life where we kind of look at our past, we look at our past traumas, right? We look at these things like, oh, the way that our family treated us, and maybe they didn't mean to, they wanted the best for us, but it created these limiting beliefs or this shame or these different things. And we suffered, right? We suffered as a result of it. And, and resentments can kind of build up and things. And so I had hung on, I realized even in the last few years, I had been hanging on to some resentments around this specifically. And until I really thought about the question you just asked. And I think honestly, Jen, and I know we're both in the self-development world, and it's like, life it is happening for us. It really is happening for us. Had I not had that experience, had I not grown up with lack, had I not grown up without, having a TV and having this outside world, I wouldn't have flexed the muscle, not only of my imagination, but flex the muscle of my inner knowing, right? Of my connection, not just to self, because that mirror that I looked in every day, that was my magic mirror. That was my connection to self. That was my identity. But beyond that, and whatever people's faith is, and I know you just saw me speak on Brooke Hemingway's stage, and we talked about spirituality and growth. And I had such a deep connection spiritually. That's what it was. I had such a deep connection spiritually, and I didn't understand what it was when I was a child until I went back and I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, what the heck? Why did I keep going? No one was choosing me. I didn't have a mentor. I was doing, interested in things my family didn't want me to be interested in. And why in the world did I keep going? I had faith. I had an inner knowing, and I knew that I was meant for something really big. I didn't quite know what, but I had faith and a knowing. And I think many people that are listening to this can really identify with some of what we're talking about, because, and I think it's Ed Milet that talks about this, there's always a chosen one in a family. There's a chosen one that has been chosen to put a halt on the generational traumas, the generational belief systems.
Yep.
And if you answer the calling of being that chosen one, holy, you have the opportunity to change the world. And yeah.
And you're speaking my language, all of it. I asked you the question because I kind of already knew the answer, but I wanted others to hear it. And it is, we all have a divine calling. Whether, you call it that, or you call it, your passion, or you call it your higher power, whatever you want to call it. If we allow ourselves to stay connected to that part of ourselves and truly step into that divine calling, it will carry us through all of the stuff where we're not getting the support, the feedback, the, acknowledgement, all the things. If we know our inner knowing is strong enough and we stay true to that, and we hold on to that, then we can carry through. And so I'm so glad I just had to touch on that, because I knew that's what it was. I was like, I just wanted her to hear you say it out loud. Because it's amazing. It's amazing to think you went through such a transformational experience from your external reality and staying true to your internal reality. And then you were able to stay true to that. So I know our listeners are going to be like, Okay, but what happened at the plus size store?
Yes.
So you
So
got to finish that.
I think, God gives us these little sprinkles of, reflecting to us that we're on the right path. And up until that point, up until that day, actually, I was like, where is my sign? Like, could you just like help me out here for God's sakes? And so what happened was, this woman, she walked into the store and did this very same thing. She put her hand up, like, I don't want your help. And in my mind, I'm thinking, gosh, I have to do something differently this time because I don't want the same result. I was just saying to my husband this morning, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. We're getting the same result. We're driving ourselves crazy. This was a business thing, and I thought, I'm going to do it differently, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And so I watched her. She did the same thing all the other women had done. She, grabbed the clothes frantically, went in the fitting room, looks at herself in the mirror, covering up what I know she doesn't love, leaves it all in the fitting room and goes to leave. And I said, excuse me. And I said it so loud that I embarrassed myself. Like my face is beet red. My ears are on fire. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm just going to go with it at this point. And she said, yes. And I said, what's your name? She said, Kathy. And I said, I'm Jessica. I said, I had to stop you because clearly, like, you drove all the way to the furthest mall in the city, the furthest store. Like, I saw you come in. It looked like you had a purpose for being here, but clearly you didn't find what you were looking for. I know you said you didn't want my help, but at this point, what do you have to lose? Why don't you give me a try? And she said, all right, kid, I don't know about this, but okay. And so I pulled all the pieces that I had been imagining her in, and I put them in the fitting room. And she goes in and she tries on the first outfit, and she comes out, and she wasn't in the full outfit. I had her put on a pair of like pull-on navy pants and this little navy shell, and it was like this monochromatic thing, and she came out, and I knew she was going to do this. She went to look in the mirror, so I stood in front of her and I said, no, Kathy, wait, let's put the whole thing together. And so I make her tuck her top in, and I put a belt on her. I put some long necklaces, make her put a little pump on, and then this long like duster sweater that has all these different colors in it, and a scarf that was floral, and it had pinks and blues and navy and green, and I, put it around her and just create this long line, right? And I slightly move so that she can see in the mirror, and she's looking at herself, and her eyes went down. She was at her toes, and then I watched her eyes scan all the way up her body, and then I see her eyes lock in with her own eyes in the mirror, and they fill with tears. And she turns towards me, and I'm peering in. I'm watching this whole thing unfold in front of me, and she looks at me and she said, I've never felt this way before. I've never felt pretty, and I actually feel beautiful.
Oh my God, I'm crying.
And I was like, I remember the feeling that I had in that moment, and this feeling of pure joy that she finally, for the first time in her life, saw what I saw in her. And she was seeing herself in as she actually was. And it's just so interesting because, and I wonder what happened. I never saw her again. She was going to a conference, and she needed an outfit for a conference, and she was going to be speaking to a large group, and like she was a high level executive. But I think about it and I'm like, this is my mission because these women, and there's so many of us women out there that are doing big things. I mean, I am serving the high performing woman. I am serving the leader. I am serving the woman that is up to big things. Her mission is to change the world. She's impacting so many lives, but she's bumping up against her identity of
Yes.
who she is and what she perceives herself to be and how she perceives herself to look. And it's inhibiting her from achieving the full success. And when I say success, because the women I work with, their definition of success is way more than money. Although when I work with them, their income doubles very quickly. And it all has to do with the changing of their belief around their identity. But they begin to experience joy because they begin to show up in their full power as their true authentic self. And when you do that, and you know this, Jen, because I know this is your whole thing. This is your mission, is to like really have women show up in this authenticity. When that happens, when a woman has a mission, a gift, and is here for something big, when she taps in, when she shows up in her full power, she becomes a magnet for all of those that she needs to serve.
Oh my gosh, so well said. It is 100% fact. And I think, you know, for me, it's interesting because we do the same thing with different capacities. And I think when I look at a woman, I'm seeing the same thing that you're seeing. And instead of dressing them and styling them and seeing that pulling that person out of them and creating the image for them so they can see themselves as that, I'm going in and I'm looking up and I'm pulling out their talents, I'm pulling out their gifts, I'm pulling out their things, and then I'm showing them a mirror and saying, this is who you are. This is what I see. And then they're like, oh, that is me. You see what I see, but I don't see it myself. And I don't know that other people see it in me. And so it's such a powerful gift that you have, Jessica, for working with women, because you're not just pulling clothes and having them try them on. You are doing a whole process with them of really seeing the individual and holding that space for them to step into that. So tell us a little bit about I know we're going to jump ahead a little bit, but tell us a little bit, about like your process, how women work with you. Like what is the way that you go about this whole process?
It's very unique. And I'm gonna preface this with, when you do have that knowing and when you know you have the gift, you have to do more than know it. You have to claim it and don't listen to what anybody else tells you, because it is the thing that we are meant to do is actually sounds the craziest to somebody else that doesn't feel what you feel inside.
Right. Or they've given you an identity for themselves and they see you as one thing, and you actually may have a totally different gift and thing that you want to do, but they're holding you in that identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so for many years, I was in retail for many years, and my side hustle was to go into women's homes. They would ask me to come and style them. And I remember, and I won't go too deep into the story of how I got to where I am now, but I remember the day that I had the knowing that what I was meant to do was bigger than what I was currently doing. I was seeing transformation in women. And I knew that I could do it on a deeper level, and I could orchestrate and create a business that would fully support the high performing woman to not just transform them, but allow them to transcend to a level where they were in this passion, purpose, living out their dream. And so today, I mean, it's evolved. CSJ styling has evolved so much, but it really went from in the very beginning, the hustling, going all over the city to all these different homes locally here in Sarasota, Florida, bringing, clothes from different boutiques and culling out the pieces that they had, incorporating it in with new and building a foundation of core pieces that worked, that I call the cake of your wardrobe, and then bringing in these novelty pieces and showing women how to, take all the pieces in their wardrobe and create all these different outfits out of it. And teaching women how to like feel good in their clothes and in turn feel good in their bodies. Clothing really is all about fit. It's about fabric. My philosophies around style really have nothing to do with fashion rules. They really have to do with alignment of, really putting articles of clothing on your body that feel amazing, that you can look in the mirror and see what Kathy saw. And so today we have signature style. My signature styling program is my most popular program to date. I do a variety of other things we can talk about as well, but I'll just share a little bit about what signature styling is. I do have a full boutique, and I only work one-on-one with clients. So I have a full boutique, not open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
It is in my home. It's what I closed my eyes and imagined 7 years ago. We're coming up on 7 years, February 14th. So on Saturday is the 7-year anniversary of CSJ. I carry 16 different clothing lines in this space. It is not something that anybody else does. We've done a lot of research on this, and I've had the door shut in my face so many times by brands. But I was determined to carry the inventory for the women that I serve, because the fashion world, in my opinion, is really set up to shame women.
Mm-hmm.
It's set up to get them to buy and buy a lot, but not ever have anything they really love. Mm-hmm. And, to buy on emotion. And so the way that I buy is specifically for the high performing woman that wants amazing fit and fabric on her body. I work with I max out at about 20 women at one time. And I work one-on-one with these women either for 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. Typically what I find is that they just keep signing up because it's way more than the clothes. I do a lot of coaching. I don't always lead with, I'm going to be coaching you, but it always goes in that direction.
Right.
And so, really how we start is I determine what it is that these women really want. And my framework is RISE. So, the first one is R, and it's the remember. It's the remembering of who they are, because if we can tap back in to, and it's typically from when they were a child, and really learn who is that authentic woman, who is that highest version of you, and really discovering her. And then with curiosity, determining, is there anything in your current wardrobe that aligns with the highest version of you? Typically the answer is no. Right. Because that's why they've reached out to me in the first place. And so we begin to build a wardrobe, a foundation for these women of, because they're ready to step into big things. They want alignment. They want to grow their business. I'm working, mostly with entrepreneurs, some high-level executive women as well. And so I begin with my curated lines to send these women boxes. We have virtual calls. I have incredible software that the pictures of each item that I'm sending them goes into a virtual closet. They get a style box sent straight to their door. They get an opportunity to try on amazing pieces of clothing that they never even thought they were going to like. But it literally, Jen, is my superpower to dress them. And they begin to wear things that really sets them up for success and joy in their lives. With the software that I have, there's a lookbook that they have on their phone. They have it on their desktop. We have a shared document where I have their itinerary of their month and all the things they have coming up. And it takes all the guesswork out. I prepare them for every single day. The coaching along the way really is about supporting them in the process of showing up as themselves in their true power every day. Because, one thing that I do find is that when women begin working with me, and even, I'm talking women that are on big stages. I'm talking about women that have masterminds that are leading people in their businesses. these women still have their own insecurities.
Of course.
And, it's about visibility and being seen when it comes to growing our own businesses. And there's fear around that. And so fear comes up even when they begin to wear the outfits that I'm telling them to wear, to get up every day and to suit up in these beautiful pieces. They feel a little uncomfortable. It's a little different. All eyes are on them. And so, we have to walk through that process too and even the resistance that comes up.
For sure. I was just going to say, it's the same thing when you're stepping into a new role that's a little bit uncomfortable, even though you know that you've got the experience and that you have all the gifts and the things that it's going to take to wear those items and step into that. It still is uncomfortable. You're pushing yourself into something that isn't your comfort zone. And we all know when you're in your comfort zone, that means you're not growing, right? So it's like you're giving them their suit of armor to step into. I'm going to use an analogy, and this is like the people that listen to the show that know me really well know that I'm a huge Tim McGraw fan, and he always says he can't get on the stage until he has that black hat on. That black hat is his cape, right? Yeah. And we all have a version of our own cape, and it's getting to the place where we step into that and literally own that superpower.
Yeah, it's a revealing. So it's like, this, when we talk about visibility and because I do a lot with branding, a lot with personal branding as well. But it's like, yeah, we want the visibility, but when you're being visible, you're being revealed. And when you think about being revealed, that's kind of a scary word, because if you're being revealed, right, for who you truly are, how are you going to be received? People might not like me as that version.
Yeah.
And so it can be a scary thing. And, and I had described back when I was talking about Kathy, about, covering up, and looking in the mirror and seeing what you don't love. I mean, those are the things that women don't want to reveal. And they're seeing, when they look in the mirror and they're focusing in on what they don't love about their bodies, that's all that they are seeing. So really, this is an identity shift. This is instead of seeing what you don't love, I am showing them what they actually look like. And the modality is the clothes, but really what I'm doing is bigger than that. Yeah. So, I have this process with my clients. I think I talked about, remember.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's next?
Okay. Yes, the I is imagine, because many women can't imagine something different. They can't imagine it better. It's just like Kathy had said, I've never felt this way before. Well, this is like a 40+ woman, and she never felt that way before. She never felt that way before, but she also didn't think it was possible to feel that way. And so I'm putting the mirror up saying, it is possible. Let me hold the vision with you. And then the R is, where am I?
You did R-I, so S.
R. Yeah. The S. I'm sorry, I'm on S. I can't spell here. The S is surrender. The S is surrender. And, and we talked, Jen, before we got on today, and it kind of was a little bit about surrender, because it's having faith of what the outcome is going to be, right? Because if you've never imagined it before or even thought it was possible, how could your brain even believe that the outcome is going to be what you want it to be? That's a scary thing.
It is a scary thing. And that is 100% mindset, and the trust that it is possible. And I think someone else holding that space for you allows yourself the permission to step into that.
Yes. And so the surrender, that's not an easy thing. And honestly, Jen, it's a daily practice. And as women, we need to be investing in ourselves. We need to be with someone else that can hold, on a day when, we don't really want to surrender. We're gripping. We are gripping. And that's reality. It happens. But we need that person to hold that space with us, so that we can stay on the course.
100%.
Right? And, when you can surrender, when you can let go, when you can believe in and trust in that remembering and in that knowing, things begin to unfold. And it's really powerful. And it's hard for me to describe exactly what I do because, women really need to experience it. And when they experience it, it's like their mind is blown, and then, the E is embody. It's embodiment. It's taking all of everything all the mindset work, all the knowledge, all the gifts, all the things that you have. And it's not only claiming them, but it's claiming them in your body and showing up and feeling it.
Feeling it. Yeah. Owning it, like truly owning it in your body. I love that word embody. It's so powerful because until you can embody something, you're still kind of holding back.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my signature styling experience. I also do have a digital course for those that are like, this sounds interesting. I might want to dip my toe in the water. And that's Simplify and Elevate. And it's really the DIY version of getting into the space of the remember and of this highest version of self. And with that lens going into your wardrobe and only pulling out what aligns with her and then creating your own kind of list of how you want to build your wardrobe. So it's kind of just a little intro into what I do. I also have I do have a mastermind of women. Almost every woman that works with me one-on-one is in my mastermind. I love introducing amazing women to other amazing women, showing them how to collaborate. And I truly believe, because my mission is so much bigger than fashion, I truly believe when you get women together, collaborating together, and this innovation happens, this thing happens that you can't even put into words. It's like individually, all these women have all these gifts and amazing things, and they're changing the world and they're impacting people, but collectively, the frequency and that comes from that is so expansive. There is no limitation on what can happen.
100%.
And so
yeah.
When I say rise, I'm also talking about women rising together. And so that's really what that mastermind is. I do a lot of collaborations. I'm doing also a collaborative mastermind with 2 other women right now. I'm a keynote speaker. And I'm writing a book with my amazing friend, Missy Ashton, who
Love
Jen.
Missy. Oh, yes.
That's going to be coming out very soon. Illustrations are being worked on right now. And
so cool. You have so much going on. I mean, you have your own podcast.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. Tell us what your podcast is called again.
It's the Jessica Papineau Show, Living Aligned, Styled with Purpose.
Amazing. So we're going to have all the ways to connect with you in the show notes, your signature styling program, everything, all the links so that women that are listening to the show can find you, check out, even more what you do, take a look at it and see if it's the right fit for them. I cannot tell you guys how amazing Jessica truly is. I personally know many of the women that she styles, and she will be styling me one day. That is another thing that I have on my mission, for 2026. So I need, as Jessica knows, I need help with styling, especially when it comes to being on stage. That's where I'm really struggling, is like that identity of me on stage, because I'm really comfortable in my wardrobe from the day to day. And it's how do I step it up for the stage and really step into that version of myself. So I'm going to be working with Jessica in the future for sure. So for all of you, I know there's every woman on the planet loves fashion. Every woman on the planet has to get dressed and put on that superpower identity of who we are in the world. And if you're ready to step into that version of yourself, I highly recommend that you work with Jessica. You're so amazing inside and out. You're beautiful inside and out. You do so much for women. And I am so grateful to know you. And I'm so grateful that you took all of this time to be with us today on the show. And we just can't wait to have you back. And all the things. Thank you, Jessica. You're amazing. And thank you so much for being here, everyone. We'll see you next week. Oh, you have a gift. Oh, wait, let's not end it yet. She's got a gift.
Okay, so I think this is really amazing for your audience, and
Awesome.
all of them can reach out to me. I do a freestyling call.
Oh, amazing.
I do a freestyling call, but I have a power presence quiz index. So if you go to my website, you can take that quiz. It's a really great. It took me a long time to come up with this. It's a great quiz if you're kind of in this space of like, how do I see myself? Where am I? Like, online, how am I perceived? Like, just to kind of see where you're at in terms of like your presence online, how you're showing up. It really gives you, reflects back to you where you are in that process and perhaps where you want to grow,
That's amazing, especially for women who are just starting a business, who want to get a feel for their personal brand.
Yes.
That is what a powerful tool. I think I'm going to have to go check that out right after we.
You need to take the quiz, Jen. It's really good.
Amazing. I love that. Okay. So plug your website real quick here. We're going to put in the show notes, but just in case someone wants to write it down while they're listening, what is your website?
It's really easy. It's CSJstyling.
Okay.
.com.
Couldn't be easier. Amazing. Yeah. Jessica, you are the best. I hope I get to see you very soon. And thank you again for being here. And thank you all for listening. This was a powerful episode, ladies. Please give us some feedback. Let us know what you think. Share this episode with any woman that you think would benefit from listening. And I can't think of anyone who wouldn't. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this episode beneficial. And if you feel compelled to do so, share it with a friend who might benefit too. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Reach out to me anytime on my website at jenmentasana.com.